How long have I got, Robert?
Basically, probably an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, as long as you need.
Okay. All right. Well, and you'll be handling questions as we go through. Is that
I'll sit here and
how
I'll
you're
watch the
gonna?
questions in the chat and I'll answer what I can and save up the good ones for you at the end.
All right. No worries. Well, thank you, Robert. It's good to be here. I'm in the Melbourne office at the moment, so I had to change some details about my flight and stuff like that. So I'm glad to be here talking to you about Windows 8.1. And I've been running Windows 8.1 now for a little while on all my machines. I'm presenting today from a Surface Pro device that has the enterprise preview of Windows 8.1 on it, and I'll talk a little bit later on about how I actually did that, because the Surface Pro comes with Windows 8 Pro. So the way that I'm going to break this down today is really talking about two parts. First of all, what it means for SMB folks, which I think a lot of you guys are. Is what it means for Windows 8, 8.1 in the small to medium business, and then what that actually means for the enterprise. So we'll start with the Windows 8.1 for the small to medium businesses, and then talk about a little bit more about what enterprises have been asking for. And before I really kick this off, one of the things that you guys probably know is that we got a lot of feedback on Windows 8. It's been about 6 months or so since Windows 8 was released. You may have actually seen that recently we've changed our release cadence in the way that we actually release operating systems now. And until I actually heard about how we're changing this release cadence, I really did understand a lot about what people were talking about when they gave us feedback about Windows 8, because the initial feedback came in and people were thinking, oh, it's going to be 3 years or whatever before there actually is a change to the operating system, or before we actually make a change to the OS to address a lot of the concerns that people had. That's no longer the case now, because Microsoft has moved to a yearly release cycle with our operating systems, which tends to scare a lot of people in some cases. But what it actually means is that we can address concerns far more quickly than we did in the past. Windows 8 was actually a start of a journey that we had, in the sense of changing the operating system in the way that it actually is designed, primarily around touch. And it was a journey that 8.1 is just an iteration on that particular journey, and there's a number of things that we actually changed. But let's get down into some of the challenges and this was based on some research that was done in the US in regards to so this was a Microsoft Windows commercial tablet, SMB tablet survey that they did in the US, talking about SMBs, and 75% of SMBs consider it important for them to have the most up-to-date technology. Just keep that in mind when we talk about some of these stats. So what we're saying here now is that 55%, this is in the US, that 55% of SMBs say that some sort of tablet are an important part of their business, and that their workers are working with new work styles and are constantly connected with their devices. 81% of employees in those businesses are using a personal device for work-related functions. So the challenge that we see is finding a work-life balance, juggling those operations, but providing a tablet, but also being able to manage the evolving security risks that are actually out there today. And then one in three SMBs cannot access adequate financing. So there is certainly a need to reduce costs, retaining the right talent, and being able to be competitive. So having access to the latest technology is actually something we see more in small to medium businesses than we do in the enterprise. Enterprises tend to move a little bit slower. In the small to medium businesses, you guys have to be a bit more agile to stay competitive and be able to actually have those different devices available to you. Now, there's been a lot of customers that have been adopting. And this is as of June of this year. Some stats: we sold 100 million Windows 8 licenses. There was 250 million apps that were downloaded in the store. And as of June, we had about 80,000 apps in the Windows Store, but that's actually peaked over 100,000 now, I believe. So that's where we're actually seeing. And these are three small to medium businesses that have actually adopted Windows 8 around the world. So we are seeing customers actually take advantage of it. So there is some there. I'll make these slides available to Robert at the end of this, so that you guys can go and find out more information about these case studies. But I didn't want to spend too much time on those, but there are customers actually doing that. So we wanted to introduce Windows 8.1 Pro to you guys and talk about a little bit about some of the changes that are in the operating system itself. First of all, it's built for business. When you think about a tablet, a lot of customers that have different types of tablets in the enterprise are those tablets that are making their way into the enterprise are actually built really targeted at consumers, and they're not managed well in the enterprise. Our goal with our tablets is to make sure that these tablets are built for business, and they're also built for a life that a user has outside of work. So we want to have kind of the best of both worlds. So we built Windows 8.1 was built on Windows 8 Pro. It continues the vision that we've had started with the journey that we started with Windows 8 is to make sure that tablets and touch PCs get even better, that we address that as a touched first device, but we received a lot of customer feedback. And we know that a lot of customers still have traditional PCs, PCs that don't necessarily have touch on them, and I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that we did in regards to helping people that are spending most of their time in the desktop. And we're also introducing new form factors right down to 7-inch devices because we know that that's a market that is growing at this point in time, so we wanted to make sure that we actually address that as well. The other thing is that if you look at Windows 8.1 Pro will be a free update for Windows 8 Pro later this year, and it's going to be delivered in two ways. It's going to be delivered through the store as an app, and as we move towards this cadence of releasing operating system updates more frequently, they need to be made available through the Windows Store, or they can be made available through volume licensing. So that's going to be available later this year. I haven't had any specific dates on that at this point in time. The preview's out now, but it'll be out later this year. And it's going to be 8.1 is going to be compatible from a hardware perspective. There's no changes in the requirements. The devices that you actually have I'm running Windows 8.1 on a Windows RT device, and that's a Surface RT device, and that is even better now with Windows 8.1. So it's making a huge difference to the existing devices in the way that they actually run. So a couple of things that for Windows 8.1 Pro, and I'm gonna dive in and out of demos as we go through this, but Windows 8.1 Pro is focused on these four areas: best tablets and PCs, having everything in one place, devices and documents being more secure, and technology simplified. A couple of things you're going to notice on the screen that are pretty cool. First of all, UI enhancements. You might notice that on the screen there that the start screen has been changed a little bit in the sense that we now have multiple sizes for tiles that are on the desktop. We have what we call a new larger size for that. The start button is back, so I hear everybody on the call screaming with joy that the start tip, what's called a start tip or start button, but it is back. So it works a little bit differently than you're probably used to in Windows 7, and I'll show you what that looks like in a second, but it gives you, I think what we're seeing now is it's a much smoother transition between the old desktop interface and the new start screen. And we realize that a lot of organizations have users that spend most of their time in the desktop, so you have the option to boot directly to the desktop. So boot to desktop is an option, so that gives you an option to say, okay, I want to boot to the desktop, or I want to boot to all of my apps. We're a bit more flexible in the way that we actually do that. We've also added flexible window sizes for full screen Metro applications, meaning that you can change those window sizes to multiple different sizes as opposed to being static before. You can have up to 3 or 4 applications on side by side and on multiple monitors. Okay, so that means that those applications, those full screen applications, can be dragged over to another monitor and they can be arranged side by side on that monitor. And when you look at how those applications work, if I'm in, say, the email client and I open up a link, that's not going to open up in a full screen. It's going to open up in a window, and then I can actually go and change that the way I want. We're going to go see tablets down to 7 inches, and I believe Acer already has released one, although Paul Thurrott didn't think it was all that great. I'll talk about some of these other things around assigned access a little bit later, but I wanted to just give you those there as well. One of the great things for those of you that have multiple devices, and I know that a lot of people do, is this whole thing around start screen sync. So what it means is that if you go into multiple machines, you log on to one machine with your Microsoft account and configure your screen the way you want. You move over to another device that's going to sync that up. You don't have to do anything. We also have settings sync. Search has been enhanced dramatically, and I'll show you what that actually looks like. They couldn't have got much worse with the inbuilt mail application, so they've improved that quite a lot. Windows Store apps have this. The store itself has actually been changed. And SkyDrive integration is built into the operating system in that you don't have to install a specific SkyDrive client in the desktop. That SkyDrive integration is there as soon as you actually log on, and you'll have that SkyDrive folder there for you. The other great thing is that if you install the Metro version of SkyDrive, that particular application allows you to take phone calls from the lock screen. Okay, so that makes it really great to be able to take calls without unlocking your machine if somebody rings you on Skype. So that's a really cool thing. There's some new apps that are there. There's a new reading list application which allows you to, if you go into search and you find something, you can go and add it to the reading list application so that you can then go and read that later on. Settings has been enhanced so that you don't have to spend a lot of your time in the old desktop control panel. We've moved a lot of those settings into the PC settings within the Metro interface. So there's a lot of things actually been changed there. A couple of things that have been changed here is we've improved trusted boot, improved biometric support. We have the ability to do backup to SkyDrive. Device encryption. This is a big one for small to medium businesses. Bitlocker is now in all SKUs. Woohoo! Everybody scream with laughter, show smiley faces, whatever you want to actually do. But Bitlocker was a technology that was only in the enterprise SKU. It is now across all SKUs. So that's a really good thing as well. So like I said, there's SkyDrive integration. There's tap to print. So if you have an NFC capable printer, you'll be able to tap to print. So if users need to go into an office and be able to quickly connect up to a printer, they don't have to remember the name of the printer or any of that kind of stuff. They can just use tap to print. There's Miracast support to be able to project wirelessly to devices that actually support that. Instant Go devices will be coming out later this year. So there's a couple of things that are updated there. I'll talk about the auto-triggered VPN and the mobile device management later on in the enterprise part of this. But I wanted to give you that quick summary of what is new for Smbs, and it's focused on two areas around UI enhancements that we think a lot of people are going to like in regards to that. Around the UI enhancements here is the start button changes, the boot to desktop, the start screen sync. This is a great thing that I actually hadn't mentioned before. For those of you that are running Windows 8, you might have known that if you had the Windows Marketplace application on your start screen, it would always have numbers next to it to say that you had updated applications, and you had to go in and manually do that. We are done with doing that. Automatic updates happen in the background for all your applications. So any applications that you have on your machine, they get automatically updated. The other thing that's really cool is that when we install those applications, by default, we do not put them on the start screen. We put them into all apps, and you can go and arrange that in the way that you want. So we think those changes, those UI changes are going to be much better for people to get used to this as they transition to Windows 8.1. So that's a really good thing. Platform enhancements that we've made is around 7 and 10-inch support, SkyDrive integration. I'll talk about some of the assigned access and some of the other stuff that really fall into the enterprise side of things. But there's a lot there in this update that we were responding to in regards to updates for Windows 8.1. Now, I want to talk about, now this says Windows for the enterprise, but a lot of these things actually really kind of blend into SMB because you guys use a lot of this stuff as well. But I wanted to kind of go in and talk a little bit about the scenarios that we're talking about from an enterprise point of view. And I'll talk about a few of these. I'm not going to cover all of them in the hour that we actually have, but I will talk about most of this stuff so we can go through that. Now, the idea that, and we started this with Windows 8.0, is to make sure that we had the best tablets for business that allowed you to have the best device that you actually had. And as again, when we talk about the UI itself, and I'm going to switch over to a demo and talk about some of these UI enhancements. A couple of things that for you guys that you might want to actually call out. You see the desktop only when you need it. Okay, you can leave the desktop only when you want to. We're not saying that you have to be in the start screen all the time. We have enhanced windowing and multi-monitor support. The search experience has been enhanced dramatically, and IT can control the start screen through group policy. So what I want to actually do is take you out and show you a little bit about what this actually looks like, so that you can see how the desktop actually looks like. So I'm just going to go down to my primary monitor. Now, Rob, hopefully you can see my desktop now.
Yep, I can see your link client, and now I see your link client. Yep, and now your start button and files and folders. So it looks good.
And it's not, hang on a second, natively into the operating system is 3D printing. I don't know if you guys have been, Robert, if you've heard anything about this, but they put a native 3D printing API into Windows 8.1, so that will support natively in the operating system 3D printing. I think this is probably one of the biggest things that's happening in the IT world or anywhere right now. Hopefully we don't have rednecks building guns, but there's a whole bunch of different uses. NASA's starting to use this now in space to be able to print objects in space, so we're going to support that in Windows 8.1.
So I think, sorry Jeff, the interesting analogy I heard was that teleportation is now possible.
Yeah, that's sort of...
So what you can do is say, oh, I'm going to teleport this object from my desk and print it out in this, this office somewhere else, and someone else can pick it up. So we're getting closer to true teleportation.
Yeah, that's right. So we're they're taking advantage of the fact that we're going to have that in Windows 8.1. I'm going to request control to see if I can control this page now. Did you get that?
No, nothing yet.
I've got a screen up.
Yeah, but that's my screen. If you're seeing Windows 8.1 preview, you just see my screen.
So they're gonna certainly have that support in there. There's a new type of device that's going to be coming out called an Instant Go device, which is going to keep your desktop, your apps up to date even when it's in standby mode. So one of the things that we focused on is obviously in the Microsoft Store is that having all those numbers on the Microsoft Store coming up all the time showing you that your apps needed to be updated was a pain in the arse. So what we're actually doing is we're eliminating that, and also there's a new type of device called an Instant Go device that'll keep those devices up to date. That's a new class of device that's coming out later this year. Just trying to find some other stuff that's around Windows 8.1 because I'm just going through some of the slides that I would have been showing you. So there is an option for touch or non-touch enabled devices, and we've realized that there's that Windows 8 is going workgroup. What it means is that the user can put in their user ID, and a identification token is sent to Active Directory. There's basically a contract that actually gets sent into Active Directory to say, okay, that's a trusted account, and it uses certificates and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. And it allows you, the IT department, to control that machine via group policy, even if it's not joined to the domain. So with Workplace Join, you have the ability to offer finer grained control of those corporate resources. So this is the big thing for devices that are not domain joined, to have a sort of in the middle part of being in a work group, still in a work group, but being registered with Active Directory and not having to actually fully join the domain. So this is really going to address that whole bring your own device type scenario, so that those devices can join the domain. Windows 8.1 on ARM, Windows 8.1 on ARM. Finally, Outlook 2013 is going to be shipped as part of Windows 8.1 on Surface RT devices and Windows RT devices. We'll have Workplace Join on the RT devices, and a new technology called Work Folders. That's actually going to be there as well, and I'll just tell you what that is going to be about. So Work Folders is essentially a little bit different in the sense it's like an offline version of all your documents. And essentially, it's a role that gets installed on Server 2012 that allows you to make folders available across different devices. I'm currently on a pilot internally at Microsoft that gives me 20 gig of data that I can share across all my devices. And I'm simply joined by a URL that gets sent by my IT department that allows me to then sync folders into that. And it basically integrates into the desktop, creates a folder there called Work Folders that syncs across all your devices. So that's a big thing as well, along with Workplace Join, to be able to allow those users to get access to corporate documents on their ARM devices and all those kind of things. So that's going to be a huge thing as well. So, Robert, that's about all I think I can cover. We're coming up to the hour at the moment, because I can't obviously do demos, but I think 8.1 is going to be a much smoother transition. And Robert, you and I have talked a fair bit about how much, and with your guys, how much people didn't like Windows 8. That's probably a fair thing to say, and I think they're going to like 8.1.
Cool. All right. Well, what I'll do is I'll thank Jeff for obviously presenting and working through the difficulties. But what I'll do now is I will unmute the audience. So if anybody's got a question, they can obviously type it into the chat window, or they can yell it out. So